Well, first it was the dust-up over Bruce Jenner, then the skirmishes over North Carolina restrooms, and now it's come to war. I'm Scott Ott with Bill Whittle and Stephen Green, and this is Right Angle, inspired and enabled by your membership at BillWhittle.com. Well, men, my pop always told me that the Army's motto was, hurry up and wait. The same apparently applies to the Pentagon when it comes to changing policy for transgender troops in all military services. A while back, Defense Secretary Ashton Carter had said he was going to take steps to allow the openly transgender to serve. But Pentagon policy still forbids it and considers transgender people to be sexual deviants vulnerable to discharge from the military. Well, the Washington Post this week ran a lengthy lament that highlights the civil rights plight of soldiers with male bodies who want to wear female uniforms and vice versa. The Pentagon's acting personnel chief, that means he's temporary, not that he's the chief of employees who are acting, Peter Levine, told the Post that the department is working through some internal differences of opinion, and this is a quote, "But it's important that we not only do it, but do it right." The Post recounts the heartbreaking humiliation of an Army sergeant who enlisted as a woman but views herself as a man, as she's compelled to try on a female dress uniform for a meeting at the Pentagon to discuss, among all things, transgender concerns. Now, Stephen Green, shouldn't the military immediately set aside its outdated standards for dress, grooming, communal showering, and physical fitness requirements so that these beleaguered, oppressed people can express who they really think they are?
Well, first of all, the uniform isn't just something you wear because it looks nice or because it's tradition. The uniform serves a lot of purposes. It lets you know exactly who somebody is and what they've done and where they're serving now. It establishes esprit de corps with things like various colored berets and whatnot, and it helps to instill military discipline. Now, the Army is going to have to figure out, and I suspect I know which way they're going to go, how this is going to apply to men and women, but you can't have Corporal Klinger running around in actual women's clothing with not a uniform trying to get discharged. So I guess maybe we've made progress in that small way. Now we're trying to keep people in rather than people trying to get out. Pardon me. But the other problem is, what fascinates me about this politically, and this is, I think, where the Democrats are in dangerous ground. Number one, they're messing with the military, and this isn't a really obvious injustice like with racial integration, which President Truman ordered in 1948 or 49, which was just wonderful and brilliant, and the military handled it with aplomb like only the American military can, I think. But we are dealing now with smaller and smaller and smaller slices of the population who aren't actually being oppressed, and in an effort to relieve them of these fake oppressions of these tiny slices, you're offending larger and larger portions of the population. And so politically, this could turn into a real loser, even though my heart goes out to people who have this confusion about their identity. I just don't know that the military is necessarily the best place for them to be working out that confusion.
Well, Bill Whittle, the Palm Center, which is an independent sexuality think tank, I'll bet most of our viewers didn't even know there were such things, estimates that our armed forces include some 12,800 transgender persons. Now, you conservatives, Bill, are big supporters of the military, and transgender troops appear to be a big part of the military. When will you set aside your Victorian morality and tear down that wall that separates soldiers by sex?
12,000 people is a big number compared to 4 people. It's a small number compared to 1 million people. So first of all, we got to figure out what the total military is and get some idea of what the percentage is. Listen, my opinion on this whole transgender thing is actually pretty simple. I just don't care. I just don't care what they believe or how they want to present themselves. I don't care what gender they have. I don't care about any of these things. None of my business. I don't care. But when it starts to affect me, then I do care. If I have an Uncle Bill who wants to call himself an Aunt Wilhelmina, I don't care. But if Uncle Bill is going to insist that he is a biological woman, now I do care, because now we're talking about me becoming involved in their particular fantasy or their particular wanting something to be true doesn't make it true. So as far as the military angle goes, Scotty, I think, look, if you're transgendered in the military and you're serving, fine. If you're comfortable with the restroom situation, fine. But if you decided that you're going to turn the whole world upside down to get special treatment for yourself, then we have to start asking ourselves the obvious question, and that is, where does this stop? For example, what if you're a vegan? What if you're a vegan in the military and they give you a bunch of sea rations? They give you basically canned Spam to eat out there. If you're a vegan and meat eating is definitely against your entire religious code, shouldn't we have to provide vegetarian meals? Not just vegetarian meals, vegan meals for any vegan enlisted people or officers that may, be out in combat? Don't we have a moral obligation to provide that to people? And where does this end? It doesn't end anywhere. I happen to be doing a firewall about this week about the whole bathroom wars and the gender issue. And I think the thing that's going on here is, you said the Democrats are in dangerous position here, Steve.
Yeah.
They are. But there's something more important at stake for them than whether or not this is popular with
What's
the public.
that?
This goes to the question of majority rule. It goes to the entire idea of a democracy. Does the majority rule, or does the most oppressed minority have the right to dictate to the majority what they will be forced to do based on the fact that they've been assigned a superior victimhood status by the guardians of these kind of things? It's really just that simple. We started losing this country when one person who might be a new arrival in a town would say that the nativity display that's been in the center of town square for 100 years offends him, and then the town takes it down. One person is offended by something that's been there for 100 years that everybody else adores, and so we take it down because we don't want to hurt his feelings. What about the feelings of the hundreds of people or thousands of people that not only liked it but adored it? What happens to their feelings? No, they're not victim enough.
Yeah.
So this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to destroy this entire idea of majority rule. We have to have rights and we have to have protections for the minorities. That's important. But that doesn't mean they get to dictate what the majority does and does not do based on how much of a victim they are.
Even though my pops said that the Army's slogan was hurry up and wait, it's actually been a variety of things over the years. From 2001 to 2006, the Army's advertising slogan was an army of one. It vanished faster than any slogan in history, because the implied individualism ran counter to the necessary teamwork involved in running a military campaign. And while we all want to be viewed as unique, the discipline and order required to wage war requires standards. The left is committed to destroying standards, not because they have an exalted vision of individual liberty, but because when you undercut the foundations of society, you can build what you want on its ruins. The cry of fairness, tolerance, and compassion toward those who are different can be appropriate, as Steve indicated when it comes to race. But when you sanctify a moral or mental defect instead of working to rectify it, you do no favor to the person suffering from it. An oncologist who finds a malignant growth doesn't urge the patient to embrace it, to see the tumor as part of who he really is. He urges the patient to undergo therapy to remove the object that might permanently impair him from being who he really is. We are a compassionate people and inclined to live and let live. But if we keep ignoring the real needs of people who suffer from what they call gender dysphoria, it's akin to telling cancer patients to embrace the tumor. It does not end well. When we submit our national defense to the disorder engendered by this sexual confusion, unit cohesion and mission focus suffer. When the federal government takes its eyes off the common defense to focus on the personal preference, the first thing to suffer is the general welfare of we the people. For Bill Whittle and Stephen Green and the whole Right Angle team, I'm Scott Ott. Thanks to our members at BillWhittle.com for making this possible.